I'm Michelle from Legal Suite, and this is part 1B of capturing parties in the address book, a juristic entity. Okay, so here we are on our desktop, and we will go into the address book on the icon with the two little ID cards. Okay, so in we come to our address book where all our parties reside, and we are now going to insert a juristic entity. So we can either, once again, use our yellow insert button, or alternatively, we can right click and we can use the insert. But for the purposes of this, I am going to use our insert button. Now, please note, for the purposes of this, I'm going to use the role of client. Before you capture any parties in the address book, please do view our webinar on types, roles, and entities. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, from the entity list, click on the drop down and I'm going to select a juristic entity. I'm going to select closed corporation, and it is going to default to business, and it is in the role of client. Now, you will notice the difference between a natural person and a juristic entity in that for a natural person, this field is called surname, and you can see that first name, title, and initials are grayed out, obviously because they don't apply to a juristic entity. Known as changes to trading as, ID number changes to number, being the registration number, date of birth changes to registration date. Okay, so, and once again, you will see that if we hover our mouse over any of these fields, you will get a tooltip which assists you with what to fill in. Right, so let's get the name of our little CC in here, and we are going to call it PDF Builders CC. Okay, now trading as, I personally do prefer to put my trading as on the same line as the name of the entity, simply because it will then bring up, when the documents emerge, the name of the entity on one line. If you put the trading as in this field here, it will put it on the line below, and in conveyancing matters, if you use the trading as field, it will cause some issues when doing a rates or transfer duty application. So I would strongly recommend putting your trading as on the same line as the entity's name. Okay, so number, this would be our ID, our registration number. Oh, and as with natural persons, if the party already exists in the address book, Legal Suite will pop up a screen saying a party with the same name exists. Please ensure that you're not inserting a duplicate party. Okay, so let's put our registration number in. Right, and our registration date, this you would obviously get from your CK1 or CK2 documents. If it were a trust, from your letter of authority. If it were a company, from your certificate to commence trading, etc. So let's put in our little registration date. Right, there we go. Now, ID type, the first three are obviously for natural persons, ID, passport, or temporary residence. So for juristic entities, we use the ID type as other. Our default language is English. Now, for juristic entities, a salutation is not automatically inserted by the program, because the program is unsure as to whether you want to write to Dear Sir, Dear Mr. Smith, Dear Peter, whatever your relationship with your client is. So for the purposes of this, we're going to insert the generic Dear Sir. As with capturing for a natural person, as I type in the postal address details, they will automatically appear under physical address. Now, this was done so that if the entity has the same postal and physical address, you don't have to type it twice. So I'm going to insert a PO box number. Okay, there we go. Okay, and our little postal code. And again, if there are any blank spaces, when this address is merged into a document, the program will see that there's a blank line and simply push the text up so that the address is seamless. Physical address, let's pop in our physical address. Okay, oopsie, it's just that spelling mistake. Observatory. Okay. Now, please note that when the program merges letters or accounts, it will always look to the postal address, and the physical address would be your address for service of documents, the registered address of the entity. Okay, so once we have our addresses in, we can now click on the contact details, and this would be anything that's not an address, your cell numbers, your email addresses, and so on and so forth. Okay, so click on our insert button, and again we have the same options that we have for a natural person, and you can have multiples of these. So let's pop in a cell number. Okay. And again, I have a very specific convention of capturing telephone numbers. I like to use the spaces because I find it easier to look at on a list of telephone numbers. And once again, if you have several parties, different cell numbers, you can put in multiples of that type of contact detail. Okay, and again, let's pop in an email address. I'm going to just pop in my email address. Okay, we're going to pop in a separate email address for accounts. So let's choose email for invoicing. Okay, and let's pop in once again a fax number, our fax to email numbers. And let's pop in a business contact number as well. So we choose work, and again I have a very specific convention, so do try to be consistent when you capture in the address book. Okay, and again, do not display to remote users. These little check boxes, this is for use in Legal Suite Online. Please, if you'd like to know anything further about that, do have a look at our little webinar on that. Do not send notifications to the party. The party will not be notified if you're using any of the other Legal Suite modules. Okay, so once you've completed all your details, again, if you don't have all of this information to start off with, please, by all means, come back at any time and update this as completely as possible.